Hey, it's Jordan with TYT Network. We're here with Ray Buckley, who's chairman of the Democratic Party here in New Hampshire. Obviously, you're the center of the universe today and tomorrow. What do you think of, on the Democratic side, the back and forth between Secretary Clinton, Senator Sanders? A lot of people think Senator Sanders has it in the bag, so to speak. But do you think both have spoken to the issues facing New Hampshire well enough? Either one of them stand out to you?
Well, I think both the Hillary and the Bernie campaigns have done a fantastic job here in the state of New Hampshire, building an amazing ground operation. Both have about 18 local regional offices opened up, over 100 paid staffers, thousands of volunteers that have been out there knocking on every door and making every phone call. And that's more than just individually they have more. Each one has more than all the Republicans added together. So it's just a phenomenal job with that. The fact is also the no attack ads. You look at what's going on the Republican side, millions upon millions of dollars was spent just on New Hampshire voters, with one of the Republicans attacking another, Bush attacking Rubio, or Kasich attacking Christie, or whoever it happened to be, that those ads are just been brutal. So all in all, with a great ground game, with being able to be an adult and civil, the way our two candidates have been compared to the other two. You know, this past week, we had a town hall meeting with CNN that was broadcast live on Wednesday. Thursday was the debate on MSNBC, and then Friday, live broadcast on New Hampshire television was our big event at the arena with 7,000 people with both candidates. So voters who were interested in voting in the Democratic primary had an opportunity to see them in three completely different formats.
Now, I know I'm probably not going to get an endorsement out of you, but Bernie's obviously set to win by a large margin. There seems to be a divide growing in the Democratic Party from what I've seen on the trail between young people who want serious, revolutionary change, and more moderate, middle-aged voters, I would say, that say, America works in incremental change. We don't change, Rome wasn't built in a day, and we're not going to change everything in a day. But what I see is really that tug of war leaning towards, this is the last straw. The system has been corrupt for too many years. Even under Democratic presidents, you got concentration of wealth skyrocketing towards the 1%, and Bernie's really fighting against that message. How do you see, obviously you're in New Hampshire, but the greater Democratic divide that's been growing, do you think that serious significant change in terms of lobbyists, corporate welfare is needed?
I really think that there's very small differences between the messages of Hillary and Bernie. It's a matter of emphasis and a matter of degrees, but I think in the end, whoever our nominee is that we're going to be able to unite behind that person. Both of our candidates absolutely believe that Wall Street needs to be cracked down on. Both believe that the incident that's happened in Flint and how many other Flints are out there. Both are very angered by gun violence. Both are very concerned about the assault on young African-American men in the country.
But you said small differences. I mean, $12, $15, it sounds small, $3, but it's a difference. Single payer versus the Affordable Care Act. So there seems to be significant differences that are kind of symbolic of the growing schism
there's
in the
two cars
party.
on a highway. They're both heading to a city 45 miles away. And one is going, wants to go 100 miles an hour, and one wants to go 50 miles an hour. They're both heading in the same direction. Is it... the question is you want to know that you're going to get there at 50, or do you want to, try to do the 100?
Well, that's actually one thing I'm trying to understand, because people, I guess the 100 miles an hour is saying Bernie is a little, his concepts are too unrealistic, I think a lot of people have said. But when you break away the term socialism and you go issue by issue, a lot of his issues have growing majority support.
Absolutely.
Taxing wealthy people, this and that, whereas Hillary hasn't always spoke to these issues. So I guess what I'm getting at is why is the thought of single payer, for example, or free public college tuition, why is that going 100 miles per hour if the majority are for it?
Well, just like how we passed marriage equality here in New Hampshire. First we passed the civil unions. made sure that the people of New Hampshire realized that their marriage wasn't going to be threatened. So everyone has a different style. There were others who were pushing, there were leaders in the gay community here in the state that voted against civil unions because they wanted full marriage equality. I respect that. I respect either way, but they're different choices. But the reality is we still ended up with marriage equality.
And I know you speak for the Democratic Party, but obviously the Republican race, Donald Trump, it seems, is going to win by a decent margin here. For New Hampshireites, there are certain sections of New Hampshire that are pretty conservative. But I was at a rally in Claremont a couple weeks ago, and I got to tell you, I mean, I was a little troubled by some of the things I was hearing and speaking to. One woman online said President Obama's working with ISIS. He's a part of a new
Is
world.
this a New Hampshire person?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I didn't check her birth certificate, but she was online at a New Hampshire event. A lot of people have a lot of animosity, and I wouldn't say they're racist, but I would say there's a lot of racial undertones. Why is it that a pretty, free-loving place like New Hampshire, a lot of people are growing to that side, and some of them are former Democrats or are Democrats?
They're a very small, very vocal minority. The Tea Party never had a serious impact, but it was just enough. It's in the single digits percentage-wise, but those people would go night and day carrying their ridiculous signs, protests, and doing the sorts of things that they did. This is not a Tea Party state in any way. When the Republicans won and a number of Tea Party people were elected in 2010, immediately in 2012 we completely bounced back and they were all kicked out of office. So those people are here, but they are in no way representative of the voters.
So bigger than New Hampshire, why do you think it is that such a significant number of Americans are kind of being swayed by this message of, there's an enemy, they're Mexicans, Muslims?
I think that we only have to go back to the night of Barack Obama's inaugural, when the Republican leadership in Congress said our number one priority is make sure that he only has one term. And so they encouraged the sort of ridiculous behavior, the behavior of Donald Trump questioning whether or not he's an American. When you see polls that a majority of Republicans in the country believe that Barack Obama probably isn't an American, that tells you the impact that sort of rhetoric and behavior has out there.
Fox News didn't help
Yeah,
either.
it is just, I like to say that they're trying to change this. You're too young to know this, but, there was a hee-haw, was this lowbrow country show that would be on Saturday nights that when I was a kid, and where people would laugh. They're thinking that that's what America should become. It is a phenomenon that I never imagined. That people embraced ignorance. People are embracing lack of information, and that is once again a small minority in the general population. But there are. So anyways, the point of that was that the Republicans really created this by their desire to have power, their desire to win elections at any cost. And they allowed and encouraged that sort of behavior so much that now they've lost control of it. And that's why Donald Trump is doing so well here in New Hampshire and across the country, essentially. And so essentially it's come back to bite them in the ass.
Do you think there's any validity to if Bernie Sanders squares off against Donald Trump? If Bernie Sanders squares off against Donald Trump, that the Democrats are somehow, going to be vulnerable because Donald Trump could say he's a socialist, this and that? Or do you think whichever Democrat candidate becomes the nominee would win?
If Donald Trump is the nominee of the Republican Party, there will be very few elected Republicans in the state of New Hampshire. It doesn't matter whether it's Senator Sanders or Secretary Clinton. We're going to have a great year here. Donald Trump is getting 30% of the Republican primary voters. That's a pretty small percentage of the overall electorate that's going to vote next November.